Call to order the Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, May 21st, 2020. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the
to the flag of the United States
of
America,
America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
And Mr. Harlicker, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Commissioner Bradley,
Present.
Commissioner Casey,
Here.
Commissioner Geisler,
Here.
Commissioner Heikela,
Here.
Commissioner Knobloch,
Here.
Commissioner Schmolke,
here.
and Chair Schwartz.
Here. Our first order of business this evening is to adopt our agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Schmolke, second by Casey. Any corrections or changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
The agenda has been adopted. Next, we have the approval of our minutes of our February 20th meeting.
Chair Schwartz,
Commissioner Knobloch.
I move that we approve the minutes from the February 20th meeting.
Second.
Motion by Knobloch, second by Heikela. Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are adopted or approved. First order of new business is planning case 20-2, a land use plan amendment at 10200 Goldenrod Street, Shamrock Development. Mr. Harlicker.
Yes, Commissioners and Chair Schwartz. The applicant is proposing a change to the comprehensive land use plan, to change the land use designation of certain property from general commercial to commercial mixed use. They're also requesting a corresponding zone change from general commercial to high density residential. The property is highlighted here with black outline. Highway 10, Foley Boulevard, commercial building to the north, which is Progressive Insurance Building, post office, and an office building. This is a Goldenrod, 102nd Lane and 102nd Avenue. The property is 6.5 acres. In 1993, the property was guided moderate density residential. The applicant requested the land use be changed to general commercial, and it's been general commercial since that time. Looking at the site, there's access from Foley Boulevard at 102nd Lane, which is a full access signalized intersection. And then on 102nd Avenue, it's a right in, right out onto Foley. Access to the site from Goldenrod and 102nd Lane. And looking at compatibility with the adjacent land uses, the proposed land use amendment to commercial mixed use is compatible with the land use designations that around it. You've got the highway, general commercial here and here, and the post office is guided institutional. When looking at this and comparing it to the comprehensive plan, excuse me, we looked at the land use chapter and found that it meets the goal and objective of the need to provide a variety of housing types, serving all stages of life cycles, so that residents can remain within the community. It supports this goal by providing an opportunity for multifamily residential development. It's also consistent with goal number 7, which identifies the need for new development that reflects current market conditions and meets the needs of the surrounding area. Again, the potential, this would allow for the development of the site as multifamily. Looking at the housing chapter, it's also consistent with the goal that identifies the need for construction of high quality new housing. This would provide that opportunity. There is some new housing going on in the city at this point. Apartment buildings were just constructed up off of the North Star commuter rail station. And there's currently a apartment building under construction at Springbrook and 94th Avenue. It's also consistent with the goal to provide housing options for all ages, income levels, and preferences, both of ownership and rental. Again, the opportunity for multifamily residential development on this site supports that goal. And in the economic chapter, provide housing stock that supports the needs of local employees and businesses. Again, this opens up the opportunity for additional multifamily housing for those employees that desire that. With that, I'll open up for questions, and the applicants are also with us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Harlicker. Commission, any questions for Mr. Harlicker? All right, hearing none. Does the petitioners wish to make any comments at this time?
Needed to unmute. Sorry about that. This is Jerry Thiessen. I'm with Shamrock Development here in Coon Rapids. And I've asked Katie Anthony from Schaefer Richardson to join us. They are a major multifamily residential developer here in the Twin Cities and Minnesota area. And Jim Winkles, I think you all know from Amcon Construction, his company, and Jim was very involved with the building of our beautiful clubhouse here in Coon Rapids. I'll just make a couple of comments as Mr. Harlicker said. In 1993, I came before the Planning Commission to request that it was rezoned from multifamily to general commercial. At that time, we'd been developing and selling properties on the south side of Highway 10. It seemed like that was going to continue on to the north side, which did not happen. And what did happen was the over 2 million square feet of retail up here in the Riverdale area, which I, again, once was, I was involved with. But this property, I've been with Shamrock over 30 years. We have had 2 offers on it. Both were car dealers. And unfortunately, they did not go through because one was a Nissan, and then the Nissan came up here in the old Thomas Oldsmobile building. The other was the Honda dealerships, which is now at Hanson and Highway 10. Both dealerships were within a proximity that was not allowed by the competing franchisees of Honda and Nissan. So nothing happened on that land. I've had many inquiries over the most recent years regarding multifamily. I have not been entertaining to them at all because most of them were not of a quality project that Shamrock likes to have in our community. And most of them were looking from some financial support from the community. We are here just with the rezoning tonight in the comp plan. We're not bringing anything else forward to you tonight, but we are very interested in taking this to a multifamily. That is, in truth, that is the only serious inquiries I've had for years on this property.
Thank you, Mr. Thiessen. Anyone else? At this time, I will open a public hearing in planning case 20-2, the land use plan amendment at 10200 Goldenrod Street. Anyone wish to speak at the public hearing? Seeing no takers, we will close the public hearing. And commission.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Casey.
yes, did Mr. Thiessen, was he gonna default to Katie Anthony for any reason or any comments? He mentioned her name and I didn't know if she had anything to add.
Mr. Thiessen.
She can answer, she's available to answer questions as it relates to marketplace, any type of question you may have there.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And anyone else with any comments? I think it's pretty straightforward, and I see no reason why we shouldn't be able to make this change. I mean, if we've gone that period of time since '93 without any takers for the existing zoning and land use, I guess it's probably time that we look for something else. Anyone else?
Chair Schwartz, this is Mary Beth.
Commissioner Schmolke.
Yes. So I guess I am a little kind of concerned. I'm curious really to know, and when we're talking about the multifamily, what type of structure we're talking about here, since it is kind of getting sandwiched between some quite a few commercial properties, and just want to make sure that we're that we're not just approving this to be able to throw something in on the property to obviously to create some development, which I think is really important, but I want to make sure that it would actually be a good use of the property, just considering the development that has gone on around it. I'm kind of looking more for feedback more from the rest of the planning commission, maybe in terms of your thoughts on that as well.
Oh, actually, at this time, we don't have a plan.
I realize,
forth.
yep.
So there's really nothing much to discuss other than changing the land use.
Right,
And
but that's my
property.
point, right? That's my point, because we're changing it to a multifamily when before it was moved from a multifamily to commercial, right? There wasn't the development that has occurred. So that was before all this activity. So I'm just curious if we're comfortable changing it back to a multifamily now that all this commercial has been developed around it. So I'm not questioning the type of structure. I'm questioning, like, is that a good fit for a multifamily?
Chair Schwartz?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Harlicker.
Yeah, the proposed land use designation of commercial mixed use is a new land use designation that we came up with in the recently updated comp plan. And that does allow for a mix of development. Not the zone change would be to high density residential, which would be apartment buildings and some institutional type uses. But the commercial mixed use would allow for both commercial and residential development.
Anyone else?
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Geisler?
Thank you. Mr. Holliker, just to clarify, so commercial mixed use could be, hypothetically, not speaking to what it could be, but things that could go on there could be pure apartment buildings. It could be commercial on the first floor with apartments or townhomes above. It allows for flexibility of those with the type of construction that could go there, or is this more narrowly defined with the mixed use commercial?
It allows for, like you just said, a mix of residential, could be townhouses, could be multifamily, as well as different types of commercial zoning districts. It would allow general commercial, neighborhood commercial. So you're not limited to a specific zoning district, like we were with the old comp plan.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Chair Schwartz, I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Casey,
In planning case 20-2, I move that we recommend approval of the amendment to the city's comprehensive land use plan to change the land use designation from general commercial to commercial mixed use based on the following. Number one, the proposed comprehensive land use amendment is compatible with the adjacent comprehensive land use designations and land uses. Number two, the proposed comprehensive land use amendment will not have an adverse impact on the adjacent properties. And number three, the proposed comprehensive land use amendment is supportive of the comprehensive land use plan, land use chapter, housing chapter, and economic chapters goals for the city, including providing a variety of high-quality housing types that reflects current market conditions and providing housing stock that supports the needs of local businesses and employees.
Chair Schwartz, I'll second that.
all right, we have a motion by Casey, second by Knobloch. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries, and this is a recommendation by the Planning Commission and will be heard by the City Council to make a decision at their June 16th meeting. Mr. Harlicker, the next case we have is planning case 20-3, a zone change. Changing the zoning from general commercial to high-density residential for the same property at 10200 Goldenrod Street, Shamrock Development.
Yes, this is the corresponding zone change request to high-density residential. The intent is to provide housing at high densities, convenient to shopping, public transit, recreation, and adjacent to collector arterial streets. Now, if we go back to there it is, the zoning map. You can see you got Foley Boulevard here, so it is it's got connections to a collector street here. It's in close proximity to the Highway 10 access point. You've got a park just to the north, and you've got some limited commercial at the corner down here at the Holiday Station, and then the shopping center on the other side of Highway 10. So it does, having multifamily on this site is consistent with the intent of the high density residential district. As we've gone through with the comprehensive land use plan amendment, the proposed zone change is consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. And then there are 3 criteria that the commission should also give consideration to. They're outlined in the staff report. And one is the effect on public health, safety, convenience, and general welfare. Second is effect of present potential surrounding land uses, how they might impact the site, and conformance with the comprehensive plan. And staff believes that the do meet all those criteria. There is a fourth one also I missed here, conformance with any applicable development district. And this site isn't within any special development district. So staff is recommending approval of the zone change to high-density residential.
Thank you, Mr. Harlicker. Commission, any questions for Mr. Harlicker at this time?
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Geisler?
Thanks. Mr. Harlicker, just from the clarification of adjacent properties, there is a large apartment complex about a quarter-mile away. Is that considered in that it impacts to adjacent properties as well? Because I believe that is high density behind the Holiday.
Correct, it is. When we're looking at adjacent, we've properties that are closer than a quarter-mile away.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Harlicker? And Mr. Thiessen, is there anything you want to add on this case at this time?
I do not have anything else to add. Certainly answer a question, but thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I will open a public hearing in planning case 20-3, the zone change. Changing the zoning from general commercial to high density residential at 10200 Goldenrod Street. Anyone wish to speak at this public hearing? And seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and leave it up to comments and thoughts from the commission.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Geisler.
Thank you. In general, I have a question here looking at those other apartments. There is sound abatement from Highway 10 near there. I know that the on-ramp would separate this property slightly, except as the further west you go, you get closer to Highway 10. Is there going to be a requirement of sound abatement in order to do further development of this property? Whoever can answer that, whether Mr. Harlicker or anyone, if that's even been looked at yet.
Chair Schwartz.
Mr. Harlicker.
I believe that's a consideration that will be looked at when they come in for a specific project, depending on what that project is. At this point, there isn't a development plan for this property, so it's difficult to say whether sound walls will be required or not.
Mr. Harlicker, does that kind of a decision kind of bleed over into the state regulations or county when it comes to noise abatement or even federal?
Yeah, Chair Schwartz and Commissioner Casey. The site plan at this location would be forwarded on to both the county and MnDOT for comments.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone wish to make a motion one way or the other on this case?
Chair Schwartz,
Commissioner Knobloch.
I make a motion that in recommendation planning case 20-3, Planning Commission recommend approval of proposed zone change to high density residential based on the 4 items. 1, proposed rezoning to high density residential is consistent with the land use designation of commercial mixed use. Number 2, the proposed rezoning is compatible with the adjacent land use and zoning. 3, the times and conditions have changed so that a reasonable use of the property cannot be made under the current zoning. And 4th and last, the proposed zone change would not have an adverse impact on the area.
Geisler, second.
All right, we have a motion by Knobloch, second by Geisler. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. And this is a recommendation by the Planning Commission and will be introduced by the City Council at their June 2nd meeting. Thank you. All right, moving on to other business. Mr. Harlicker, you have anything for other business?
Things have kind of slowed down a little bit. We do have two site plan applications for next month's meeting. It looks like Gateway Commerce Center will be finished. They've got two vacant lots at, I would call the north end, off of Hanson. We did get a site plan request for a daycare center as well as a multi-tenant building. Those are the two remaining lots that are owned by H&W Development. So that will be it. The other vacant land at the end of the cul-de-sac down there is owned by Walzer. And then we also got a registered land survey next month. We do have the, I know that the two indoor self-storage buildings are under construction and going. And that's all I have to add.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harlicker. Yeah, concerning the self-storage facilities, they're coming right along with the one at Foley and Highway 10 there, and they have definitely broke ground and got footings at least into the ground that the one up on Main Street. So yeah, that one's coming along. Anyone else have anything under other business? Seeing none, anyone wish to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Geisler, second by Casey.
Yes, I did second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.